Hello there and welcome to Rose Pruning 101. This is a floribunda called the Tiger Rose. It's a striped variety, quite an old one, quite an interesting rose. It's not a particularly easy one to do because there's no basket shape, so that's what I would like to have. Eventually the basket is where you have it shaped like this with air circulating in between. You'll see it's a very tight little, almost like a champagne flute, and that's not really quite what we want. Something also I want to point out is there are some very old stems here and some new stems. So here's an example of an old stem, and that actually has dieback on it. Further down it's still green, but it's not very exciting. This is another quite oldish stem over here, and compare that with this one here, which is very green. This is a much newer green stem, and what we want to do, because part of rose pruning is to rejuvenate the plant, so you're looking, if you're going to get rid of a stem, always get rid of an old stem. And rule of thumb is get rid of anything that's dead, diseased, or damaged. And looking at this one, first of all, this is clearly damaged, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to get rid of the stem way down, as far down as I possibly can, so that we can, I'm going to go all the way down to about here. And I'm using loppers because it's at least 3/4 of an inch in the thickness. And there you can see, let me show you, you can see the dead wood up top, and this will gradually just die down. It's died down here, it's still green on this side, but died down. So you want to, if you're going to keep the stem, cut it near the bottom where it's still okay. This here is probably from damage where there's been a cross and it's braided, and that's why it looks like that. So it's easier to get this out of the way initially. All right, now this is not the easiest rose in the world to do. Can you feature that one? This one over here, it had a clear basket shape. You can see that quite clearly. It was easy to do. This one, not so easy. If I was doing this, this would be the one I would probably want to do last. So if I'm looking here, you've got a little bit of a crossover there. You'll see that they're touching. Can't have that. So I'm going to clean that up initially because I don't have a lot of stems to work with. So here's another problem. You have one right dead center. So I think we need to go in and get rid of that one that's actually growing in the middle of the bush, because you're never going to get a basket shape with it over there. So you've got to go in quite carefully, make sure you don't get the wrong one, and take out that one in the center. Bit of a shame because it was quite a nice one, but oh well. That's what happens. A little bit of dieback here. This is not the most vigorous rose in the world. Now here you have, clearly you've got some crossing. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to get rid of this right over here to eliminate that, and now you can see the crossing is gone. This crossing over here too. So I'm going to do this. This is where you're in control of the plant's growth for the new year. Now you'll see that that crossing is gone here, and I've got a stem, and I'm hoping this will eventually grow out this way. That's the plan. So I'm looking for an outward facing bud, and right now that's about my best bet. So I'm going to cut there. If I need to, I may cut further down. Somewhere along the line this got cut, and this over here, I hope you can see that, is actually got a little bit of dieback. So I'm looking for one further down because that could be a problem. Again, not the easiest rose in the world to do. I think I'm going to put a dye. You sometimes get these tiny little bits of dieback. Just take them way off. I'm going to cut that there. If I need to, I may come and cut this right off, but I am a little loath to because this plant doesn't have a whole lot to work with. It is a nice rose, that's why I am keeping it. Now this is a problem. You can see how the two are touching there, but I would like to hopefully get a branch coming out, so I'm going to cut it right there. It's a little harsh, right there, and hope that this stem will come out that way and create a basket for the following year. It's this is not the best plant in all the world. If I was going to get rid of one, this would be it, but it is a nice flower. So let's see what else we have here. I'm going to cut right there. This was picked, and there's a little bit of dieback from where it was picked. Cutting to an outward facing bud always. There we go. Now here's a nice stem and an outward facing bud there, about 1/8 of an inch above it. Hold the stem so it doesn't saw. Nice clean cut, you can see there it's a clean cut at an angle so the rain falls off. What I'm going to do with this one, and this is where you artificially correct the plant's growth, I'm going to cut this away here, just where they connect, and you'll see how much better that looks. That was it, and now you have this. And this plant is a prime example of crossing all the time. Here we have crossing again, so I have to do something about that. So what to do? Do I cut this one? Do I cut that one? I'm going to cut that one down there because it's thin. This is a thicker stem over here, so I'm going to leave it. Now it's a little brownish there. Is it going to die back? Maybe. If it does, I'll simply come back and I'll cut it one down. You remember, rule of thumb, anything thinner than a pencil you want to cut back. Again, this is not a very robust rose, so we need to remember that and give it a little bit of leeway. So we're looking for an outward facing bud, and I think I'm going to take it here just to start with. See what that looks like. You can come back, you can cut some more afterwards. Just getting an idea of it. Right, so outward facing bud. Now it's one of these ones where you don't see them, so if you don't see them, assume it's going to come out above that leaf, and I'm going to cut there. All right, this facing inwards, I think I'm going to take it off, and that's not too bad. It's fair. This one over here, we don't have too much, so I'm going to have to cut to that stem there. Nothing there, I'm going to cut it like that. And this one, also not a great stem, it's very old. But we've already cut one big stem out, so I'm a little reluctant to do it right now. So what I might do is cut it back to about over here and see what happens after that. There we go. It was just so old. Let's see if that will help it along the way. Now this one is looking for an outward facing bud. There we are. There's one there. So cutting. Hold the stem because that way it's less likely to pull. That's a bit spindly. I'm going to take it off. This has got dieback here. Quite possibly I'm going to have to come back and take off that whole stem. But when there's so little to work with, it's tough. But it's good for you to see that sometimes there are roses which really are just hard to do. Now this one over here, still got a lot of leaf on it. I'm going to cut back above where the leaf comes out, because that'll be your bud. In fact, if you can see right here, there is the little bud under what would be under the leaf. It's in quite a protected area, so it hasn't lost all its leaves. Get rid of that, take that away over there, and now to find, here's an outward facing bud over there, and it's better. So this part over here is actually growing into the middle of the row. So I think I'm going to go in, take that out, and it's, you know, sometimes you feel, take that too, you feel you've been a little bit harsh, but this one will hopefully improve. Taking down there, just getting rid of a little bit more, and it'll be interesting to see what this rose looks like now in, say, a month's time, a month or two's time. Here's a very spindly little stem, not much use to man or beast. Let's get rid of that. And here is the finished rose. It's a good one to show you because it really is not the easiest one in the world to do. So I'm glad I was able to share that with you. Possibly this should go, this stem, because it does, it's very close over here, but there's so, let's see if it'll die back there. There's so little to work with this rose. We'll see what happens. It'll die back there, so sorry, as I'm doing it, I see things. It'll be interesting to see how this rose improves. So let me show that to you now so you can see the finished product. I think it does look a lot better. And sometimes one really has to be a little harsh to be kind. Happy gardening.